If you want to win every fight in Fortnite, I'm going to give you guys 10 different fundamental fighting tips to dominate every fight. So if you do enjoy, make sure you are subscribed. But now onto the first tip. Now first up, if you want to become a better fighter, you have to learn how to do damage while not taking damage. And the best way to do that is with a wall reset. Now one very simple example of a wall reset is right here. Me and this player are both in a fight right here. And I'm going to break this wall and we're both going to fall into the same box. And we're both going to trade damage. You're going to notice we're both going to shoot. He cracks me, then I crack him. Now at this point, I'm quick enough and I throw a wall in front of my opponent. Now when this player lands on my wall, what I'm going to do is very simple. I'm going to wide edit, bait the opponent to shoot, because obviously I wide edit and he thinks, oh, I'm going to be able to get a shot off, right? But no, because I'm going to reset the wall last second. What this does is it baits the other opponent to shoot. As you can see, his pellets have now just shot and it's blocked by the build. And that means that when it breaks, he's vulnerable. As you can see, he can't shoot back, he can't swap to his SMG, he can't build. It's going to take him a few seconds to do that, and that means that I'm guaranteed to be able to get a shot off. And since I did that, I now get a free shot and I'm able to pick up an elimination. Now a majority of the fights in ranked are more than likely going to be box fights, so I'm going to be showing you how to properly box fight and change angles. One example is right here. As you can see, I'm creating some space for a box and this player is pushing onto my wall. Now when this player pushes onto my wall, normally most players would try and piece control from this wall, but this would be a mistake because it's very predictable. So instead, I'm going to edit out the right wall and piece him up from here. I place 2 cones and then I place a wall in between me and him. This gives me a right hand peek. Notice how I incorporate my movement though. I wide edit while moving back to my left, and this gives me a great right hand peek. If you were to look at my POV when I crack this player, obviously a great peek. But if you were to look at the other player's POV from this peek, you're going to notice he literally couldn't even see a glimpse of me when I crack him, and that is a great peek to take in this fight. And then eventually this fight dwindles down and I'm able to pick up a simple kill just because I was really smart with my piece control. So make sure you're doing things like this to win more fights. Now, if you not only want to become a great fighter, but also a great player, you have to understand awareness. Now, awareness basically just means you're focused on what your opponent is doing and not just yourself. Now, one very simple example of having good awareness is right here. This opponent is in a box, meting up, and I am trying to push him and I'm trying to steal his wall. Now, when I try and steal his wall, I'm not looking at the floor, I'm looking at the player. What this does is it allows me to predict their movements. See how this player starts to move to his left? I predict that he's going to go out that way because I'm looking at him and not the floor. And that means that when he edits out in this direction, I already have everything pre-pieced. I can double edit, crack him, and now he runs away and he goes to box up again. Now, after I crack this player, I've obviously noticed that this player doesn't have the best awareness because I was able to predict him very easily. So instead of being predictable myself, I'm going to be unpredictable. So instead of going up to his wall, smacking on it like a normal player, I'm going to go below him and I'm going to go a layer below. What this means is, as you can see, he edits and he still thinks I'm up here, but as you can see, I'm on a lower layer. And that means that I can catch him off guard, spray through his floors, and I'm obviously able to bleed through, and I'm just going to spray my SMG right through him and pick up a simple kill just because I had more awareness than the other player. Now, if you want to become a better fighter, but most importantly, end fights quickly, you need to understand how to capitalize on your opponent's mistakes. Now, one example of me capitalizing on my opponent's mistake is right here. He goes up to my wall and he starts to swing. Now, when I make this top right cone edit, he steals the wall and he's going to, as you can see, make a wide edit, but this is a mistake. And if we were to look at the other player's POV from when he steals my wall to when he edits, you're going to notice that he literally cannot see me at all. And I'm able to get a shot off. Notice how I just cracked him. He literally hasn't even seen me yet at all. And that means that I'm able to capitalize on this mistake, spray through. I've just now exposed myself and I bled through and I'm able to pick up a kill just because I capitalized on my opponent's mistake. Another way you can become a better fighter is by learning the fake cone flip. Now, basically what this is going to do is it's going to bait out your opponent to let his guard down, and that's going to allow you to get a free shot. Now, one example is right here. As you can see, this is my wood wall right here, and I'm going to flip up my cone, act like I'm going out in the left direction, and then I'm going to reset the cone 180 and go back towards him. What this is going to do is it's going to bait him out to pull out his pickaxe because he thinks, oh, I can steal the wall now. But as you can see, I've caught him off guard and I'm able to get a pump off, reset the wall without him even being able to get a shot off. And then simply I can just go in, wide edit, and end off the fight because I know how I have a huge health advantage. Now, one way that pros and just good players in general like myself pick up kills is we learn how to pinch opponents. Notice these 2 players are fighting right here. I'm sitting in a box and I edit up my right tile and I'm going to get out of the box and I'm going to notice this player's starting to push, and that means that I'm going to have an opportunity to shoot him because he's not paying attention. When he does this, I go onto the back wall. Notice the angle I swung from. I got behind him instead of if I were standing like right here, he would have been able to see me, but I go from behind, and that means that he's not ready for it, and I'm able to get one pump off and pick up a free kill and get a mythic AR and a bunch of mats. Next up, let's talk about 50-50s in Fortnite, and specifically how to avoid getting in those 50-50 situations, especially with the new Oni mask. Now, one example is right here. This player is going to throw his orb, but he's throwing it right in my face. And what this is going to do is it's going to knock both of us back, and we're both going to crack each other. Now, in hindsight, this may be good if he wins the fight, which he doesn't, by the way. But what happens is if we both are cracked and a third party shows up, it's a free kill for both of those players. So instead, what you should be doing is looking for big hits of opening damage before you throw the mask. Like right here, I cracked this player, and this is the right time to throw my mask. But most importantly, notice how I throw the orb. I throw it right behind him and above him. This catches him off guard because he would have to turn 180 degrees to see that the orb landed behind him. And I'm able to catch him off guard and get a pump off before he can even react, giving me a bunch of meds and mats. Next up, let's talk about box fights and one of the best ways to box fight, and that is noticing when your opponent doesn't have a cone in his box. One simple example of me noticing that is right here. I see this player standing on this wood wall, and I notice this player obviously doesn't have a cone in his box, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a ramp in his face instead of the wall in case he has better ping than me. What this does is it forces the player to make a decision. And when he tries to run out to his right to get out of the box, I look in that direction so that I can block that angle off. And as you can see, he gets put in timeout and he's stuck in the corner. So I flip the ramp backwards. This means that he's now stuck in a really awkward position. And I also get a right hand peek, and that allows me to jump into his box, spray through, and pick up a simple kill. Next up, let's talk about one of the best ways to get free kills, and that is with baiting out opponents. Now, one example is right here. We're in a 1v1. This is me and this is the other player. Very simply, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bait the player out with a fake ramp. I throw one ramp and I test him, see if he sprays. He doesn't, so I place another ramp. This forces the player now to make a decision, and he's going to actually start to spray me. And when he does, I've already gotten down to the ramp. As you can see, I'm not standing up here, I'm standing back here, and this is a difficult angle for him to see me, and I can spray and get that big hit of opening damage I was looking for, and that leads to me winning this game. Next up, let's talk about when it's actually the right time to peek. As you can see, this player is across from zone, and he's looking right at my box, which is right in here. I'm sitting here and trying to hold him in zone. Now at this point, he's hard scoping me. There's no point in me peeking right now because even if I 50-50 him, I wouldn't even be able to get back the loot because zone's closing. So I'm going to be very patient in the way that I peek this player. Notice how I'm just not even peeking at all. I'm literally just sitting on the edge, waiting for the right time. And when this player drops down, I try and peek. But obviously he blocks it off. But I know he's going to run out to the right more than likely because he can't run out here because it's all in the open. So I'm literally just waiting for him to run into this area. And since he doesn't build and he jumps, I can get a triple dink and I've now cracked him. And since he doesn't realize that, I've now picked up a free kill just because I waited for the right time to take my first shot. So make sure you're doing this to win more fights and pick up free kills. That's going to wrap up this video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you are subscribed. And if you want to see more, go check out my full fighting guide. But with that, I'm out. Peace.